Welcome back.
to
StitchPhiles with Baird in America.
the #1 podcast
In the land.
in the world.
#1 rated podcast.
What are we up to now? 75 subscribers? Something like that?
I don't know. I don't check that.
I don't either. I never do.
It don't matter.
Nah, don't
It's
matter.
for our own entertainment, if nothing else.
We do it for us. That's right. It's a good thing to listen to when I'm at the gym on the treadmill.
You listen to it?
Absolutely. No,
Oh, I never.
I watch it.
I never listen.
I have never listened to it. I've always watched it.
I don't ever listen or watch. Never
Sometimes
have.
I can't get through it.
Why? Because you don't like to hear yourself?
I just can't. I can't do it. I just can't do it. I got to be in a mood.
Yeah.
I know you're a big podcast.
Yeah, I don't listen to anything I ever do, though.
I don't listen to podcasts much. I do the YouTube podcasts because I like to watch the people.
Mm-hmm.
See who's talking.
Put a name to
who's doing the
a
talking.
name to a voice or a face
Yeah.
to a voice.
And just about everybody that does a podcast does it on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah, I was always told, like, you kind of have to hit two different groups of people. Because there are people that only listen to it and other people that only watch it. Yeah.
Me,
And I only listen.
I only watch.
Yeah. Usually because I can put it on the car.
You know, I would listen to podcasts on an airplane. I probably should do that.
Oh, I do.
I should download it and then play it back.
That's what I do. I'll download them on Spotify and listen to them on the plane.
Because Wi-Fi on an airplane,
It's horrible.
it sucks.
Yeah.
Unless you're watching their movie.
Yeah.
It's
I was trying to. Actually, I did get to send a couple of emails when I was on the plane to Puerto Rico and back. So it did work, but it's like intermittent.
Well, on American, if you fly American and you're a T-Mobile user, they've got some kind of...
Did you?
Huh?
Who uses T-Mobile? You
Me.
do. I know.
Me. I love T-Mobile.
You know, that's the one reason I don't have a Baird phone.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not getting T-Mobile.
If you had T-Mobile, you would curse at
I always thought it was
Verizon.
I always thought I don't have Verizon. I always thought it was like the cheapest.
It was.
It was like the
You know now
Boost or whatever.
You know now they have more coverage than Verizon does. Verizon's their customer satisfaction is gone.
That's why I left.
Verizon?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Your mother has Verizon.
I had it, and they made me mad, and I dropped them. I've had AT&T for a long
We had
time.
Verizon through the company, but I think what happened was we had I want to say we had unlimited data, and that went away. They made us start paying for it,
Mhm.
and then T-Mobile said,
Come on over.
"Come to the T. We'll give you unlimited data at a better price."
That's a good reason.
But I think they've jacked it up since then. But
They
we still have unlimited data, which is good.
Yeah.
But what I was saying with American, they've got some kind of agreement with T-Mobile to where if you're a T-Mobile customer, you can type in your telephone number and you can get pretty good Wi-Fi on the plane where you can actually send emails and for free.
I was listening to a podcast, and it was talking about some obscure airline, and
Spirit.
I fly Spirit sometimes. It was talking about like, yeah, we don't even go higher than the cell towers, so you always have Wi-Fi.
Don't do what?
He said that they would never fly. Their deal is like they never fly higher than the cell towers, so you never lose your service.
That's a good idea.
And he said we drive some of the way.
Oh, I didn't tell you about my fiasco with Frontier Airlines, did I?
You like Frontier?
You know, I only fly them if I'm going up and down the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have flown them a couple times from Seattle or Portland down to L.A. or reverse. This time I went from L.A. after the show.
Do you always look at what animal you're flying?
No, they got that. You know, we had a 2-hour delay out of LAX because man, it just poured the rain out there, and and they said it wasn't the rain that delayed it. They said that the pole that pulls the airplane to the gate, the pole broke.
Oh man,
I'm like, dude,
get a new pole.
well, here's what I don't understand. That airplane has motors on it. Wouldn't you start that thing up and drive it up to the gate?
I don't know. I think it's a fuel thing. Because you have to weigh all that out. And
Anyway, you talking about the animal on the Frontier plane? They got that goofy looking, I guess, Is he an Eskimo? It's on the guy's face. Is that an Eskimo?
It's
What is that?
First Nations. I don't think
know
you
what
can't
it
say
is.
that word anymore.
You can't say Eskimo. Well, I mean, why not?
They don't. They really don't like it.
What are they like?
Like indigenous people.
Okay,
and
it's
First
an
Nations
indigenous
people.
person, and it's that's. I just see this guy looking at me all the time when I'm looking at.
No,
It's
it's
right on the tail.
It's usually an animal. Like they have different animals.
Well, this one had,
I think one of them's a squirrel.
and I couldn't get out of my mind. I'm like, is the door? I was sitting in an exit row. I'm like, man, what if the door blows off?
Did you see that video of that door that came off?
Yeah, sucked that guy's shirt off.
No.
Yeah, sucked his t-shirt off.
I didn't see that. Maybe
Yeah.
this is a different video.
Oh, I didn't
think
see it actually sucked his t-shirt off, but
He said it did.
yeah. Well, he was sitting in the seat with no shirt on. Maybe it was just an excuse to take his shirt
showed
off.
up that way.
So if I'm going to die, I'm going to die shirtless.
No, I just saw. I thought somebody's. I've heard two different stories. Like it was the inside of the plane was fine, but the outside is what peeled off. It wasn't actually the whole door didn't come off.
It did. The whole door did
Well,
come
I've
off.
also heard that too.
No, well, they showed it on TV. They found the door in this guy's yard, and they came and got it. And it was the bolts that held the door in is what gave up the ghost, and the door flew off.
Man, if you have an exit row, if you're on the exit row on that, and you're like, do you accept responsibility for this? And the door flies off. You're like, I'm never doing this
Yeah,
again.
I'm not. Yeah, I always sit in the exit row because
Stretch out.
I can stretch out, and I'm fine. I can stretch out and I can take a nap. The seat doesn't recline very much, but I don't care because they don't recline much anyway.
No, I don't. I never recline.
It's like it's going in regular coach. It reclines 3/4 of an inch, and in exit row
You get
it's
an eighth.
like 5/8 of an inch.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna make this a speedy one because I checked the camera before and we only got like around maybe an hour of recording time. So
Yeah.
So we're gonna recap the Long Beach show
Mm-hmm.
and then talk about my Puerto Rican escapades,
Oh boy.
which sound exciting.
Yeah. Anyway,
So how was Long Beach?
it was awesome. It truly was. We had talked about this before the show, and we talked to a few people about how they, we did a year beginning of the year or year end recap, and we were wondering, who do we talk to? Tom
Yeah.
Schmidt, who was there. They had a booth right across the aisle from us. It was good to see Tom and Adam from Geneva Capital, and we were talking about. Nobody knows, or still yet doesn't know, or knew how the show was going to be. I talked to Patrick, who we've had on the podcast before, about what pre-attendance was, and if he had a feeling of how he thought the show might go as far as attendance goes. I kept track of the floor plan, and all the booths were filled. Even that, well, you haven't been there, but back there where that big mezzanine is was all full of booths back there. So I thought it would be okay. Last year, 2023, the show was really, really good. We were so busy. This year, on Thursday and Friday, it was every bit as busy as last year, maybe more so. Mm-hmm. I mean, from 10 o'clock when the doors opened until 5 o'clock, we were wall-to-wall people. I never left the booth to get anything to drink or to go to the bathroom. That's not good. I couldn't get away. Every time I tried to sneak off, but there were people there that needed to be talked to. So, yeah, it was, and yet not only. I mean, there was a lot of people there, but we wrote quite a few orders. So, and that's that's what you want to do at any show.
Yeah. Was Saturday busy? I talked to Sean Evans at First Essence yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And he said Saturday for them was slow. Was it slow on Saturday?
No.
Okay.
Friday and Saturday
I told him
was
I didn't
slammed.
think it was.
Sunday was slow, and Sundays are always slow at that show. So it was a typical Sunday at the Long Beach show. And I don't, the weather may have had something to do with it because it was raining, or they had forecasted a lot more rain than what we got on Sunday. Monday, believe me, Monday made up for it. Monday morning, I stayed up near LAX, and it was pouring the rain Monday morning, and it rained. Then I flew to Seattle. It never stopped raining It was still raining on Tuesday morning when I left coming home. It just constant rain the entire time, and
It always rains in Seattle, though.
it always rains there. But got to see a lot of existing customers. There's a lot of activity still. A lot of activity with single head machines. It seemed like they were more single heads than they were multi heads. I think it seemed like that way to me. And if you ask everybody else, they may say, well, we had a lot more activity with the multi heads. You got a sale out of it.
2, I believe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did you? You did.
Yeah.
Yeah, one out of Virginia and
Florida.
yeah. So, yeah, and you were asked about.
Of course.
People were asking about you,
Of
and we had some groupies there that said they listened to the podcast. So,
Thanks for listening.
yeah.
Sorry I wasn't there. I'll never be there. So,
I wouldn't say that. It's just kind of hard to take you out of your territory.
yeah. I get it.
Yeah.
The plan was for me to be there, and then I had this other thing come
Yeah.
up.
Well, you were somewhere else.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it seemed like it was good. I've had a couple people calling this week, just following up, and so that's a good sign.
The like I said, the traffic was really good. There was a lot of activity from the sales side as far as writing orders, and it seemed like a lot of people were, because I was a little nervous going into this. I'm thinking, well, how's this year going to be? Who knows? I mean, business has been so good, and we've been looking for it to slow down, and it has slowed down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Which we fully expected that. We actually have machines in stock now, which we didn't before. So I kind of expected it. So I thought, well, I figured the show would be okay. I figured it'd be pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I did not expect it to be as good as what it was. I was very pleasantly surprised.
Did you talk to Patrick any about his thoughts for Atlantic City and what it's looking like?
He said so far, and I looked at the floor plan yesterday. It looks about the same size as it was last year. And look, no other show is going to compare.
Yeah, to Long Beach.
To Long Beach. I mean, that's the kickoff of the season. We've said this numerous times. It has a bigger draw than Atlantic City. I mean, we had people from everywhere.
Yeah.
Florida, the East Coast, the Midwest. It's the funny thing about it is it draws well from everywhere except the Pacific Northwest. We just don't have that many people that come down from like Washington and Oregon. We have a few, and we got a ton of customers up there. Tom Messina's done a great job. For some reason, they just don't come down to that show. And Tom and I have talked about this, and he said, well, they just don't travel. Folks up there just don't travel down down into California, I guess. I don't know.
They're happy where they're at, and they're going to stay there.
Yeah. Maybe they're mad because they don't have a show up there.
Maybe.
But the shows we've had up there haven't been well attended. So I don't know what the answer is. I guess maybe they saw the weather forecast and said, hey, you know what, I can get rain here. I'll just stay here.
Yeah, you go to California, get sunshine.
The weather wasn't good. It wasn't. It was when it wasn't raining, it was gray, overcast, and cool. I got there on Monday before the show. And the weather was good. It was about 60, blue sky. Tuesday for half a day it was good, then it started clouding up, and then from there on out. But that's. I'm trying to remember. 20 plus years of doing that show. There's been probably a handful of times when the weather sucked.
Yeah, and it's you don't really expect that for California.
No, you don't. I mean, it's still. Well, I was there. The East Coast was in
Yeah.
freezing
It was
weather.
Cold.
I mean, I know it was cold here. Well, not where you
wasn't,
were.
no.
We'll talk about where you were here in just a minute. But I was talking to my wife, and it got down to 15, 18 degrees, which is really cold for North Carolina.
Yeah. It was a shock coming back to going from tropical weather to absolute freezing.
Well, I missed all of that. I missed every bit of it. when I got back, it was probably around 45 or 48 or what we normally get.
And then it
for
turned
January.
into spring all of a sudden.
Yeah, now I had the air conditioner on in my truck a while ago. So
Yeah, it's weird.
if you don't like it, hang around. It'll change.
Yeah, that's right.
But
Yeah, and the whole there was a fiasco beforehand with the show with getting the equipment. That was
oh my goodness, I've been setting up these shows for almost 30 years. Literally, I never had this much difficulty. Not the show setup, part of the show setup, just getting the stuff there. I mean, I don't know if I should even go into it or not. My blood pressure just starts to boil.
We'll just say it was by the skin of your teeth getting everything set up.
Yeah, and I'll touch on if anybody's anybody's interested. And nobody knows. When you go to a show, any type of show, nobody sees what goes on behind the scenes, setting things up. We got there on Monday because we have early move in on Tuesday, so we fly in because this time of the year you never know what the weather's going to be. Right. It could be snow. One year Earl got delayed because snow in Cleveland. Usually getting out of North Carolina, we don't have much snow, but we spend a lot of money on this show, and we need people there to. We send the machines crated. Mm-hmm. We uncrate them. We have to thread them. We have to test sew them, make adjustments to them, and that takes time. We had 3 single heads and a 6 head, and normally it's me and Earl and Thomasina, and which is fine when everything's on time. But the trucking company, now I'm never not going to name who they are. Needless to say, we'll never use them again. But the truck broke down somewhere in, was it New Mexico or Arizona? It broke down in Albuquerque. That's where it broke down, New Mexico. And I get that. I understand that. And that's kind of why we go a little bit early, to have a little bit of time, in case something goes wrong. And they told us, well, we'll have it to you there in the morning. First thing in the morning, we're getting another truck. So instead of taking another truck out there to hook onto the trailer like I thought they would do, they transfer everything into a box truck, which I don't know how they did that. I don't.
Yeah, you probably don't.
I'm thinking the truck's broken down on the side of the road and there's no forklift. So anyway, evidently it wasn't. They must have gotten to a terminal in order to do this. So they said they'll be there first thing in the morning, and we were getting texts and emails from the trucking company saying, it told us it was there on Tuesday morning. It was there. No, it wouldn't get there Tuesday. That's what it was. It will be there on Wednesday morning. Described the truck to me. Well, I went for a walk Wednesday morning and went to the yard, and there was no truck, their description whatsoever. And anyway, it didn't get there until before lunch on Wednesday, right before lunch. And thank goodness we had a couple other people that were coming in. That phone's going crazy.
I know.
A couple other people came in that were scheduled to come in to help, and we had Sam there, Sam Morris, who thank goodness, Sam is like Earl, they're super techs.
Yeah, you'd been in trouble if it had just
we'd have been in bad trouble.
Yep.
I mean, when the stuff got there, we all jumped in, and we had it uncrated in no time, and got it all set up, because we had 3 technicians there, which we normally don't. And it's the single heads. Normally you don't need to do anything to them. Maybe set the hook timing, which I can do that. That's usually it. The 6 head takes a little bit more because, of course, you got 6 heads there, and the thing was in transit coming across the U.S., literally from Cleveland to L.A. But and Earl is, he's the master tech. He's the dude. He's the Jedi Knight of the Barrett and Embroidery Technical Services. That's actually his title.
It is his title, Jedi Knight.
Yeah, it's on his business card, if you don't believe me. So, and luckily there were no issues whatsoever with the machine. I mean, the 6 head kind of sewed right out of the box. I mean, we threw caps on it and ran it, and we had B-net hooked up to it. And I cannot believe
Yeah, you need to talk about this. 'Cause
we had the first day
crazy.
we ran that machine, and I know nobody's going to believe this, but honestly, we had BNet is our networking system, and it lets you know how many thread breaks, how many bobbin changes, how many pieces you've sewn, all that stuff. And we're going to get Thad on here one day to get into this in detail because we really need to. But Earl and Thad and I were talking, and Thad said, I think there's something wrong with BNet. And Earl said, well, why? And he said, there's no thread breaks on it. And Earl said, I don't think I fixed the thread break. And this was 7 hours at the show, constant running, sewing caps with double puff foam. And Earl said, have you fixed the thread break? I said, I haven't fixed the thread break on any machine all day. And he said, the machine hasn't broken a thread, the 6-head hit. And we were sewing caps at 900, 950 stitches a minute. Mm-hmm. And as far as we know, it never broke a thread. I mean, I asked several of the guys there on the booth, did you guys fix a thread break on the 6-head? And they said no.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Incredulous. And BNet would have said, it will tell you what needle, what head, and at what time it broke a thread, and how long it took, how long the machine was stopped. It'll tell you all of this, and it was never stopped for a thread break. Now, bobbins, of course. An end of design, which means when it's done sewing, you take it off and start the next one. That's how it knows how many cycles the machine's gone through.
Right.
So it was. I've never seen that. I mean, our machines don't break much thread if they're set up correctly. They just absolutely don't. Mm-hmm. And you and I have worked enough of these shows with these single heads. We load them up, and it's nothing for us to go through a 30,000 stitch design without a thread break.
Yeah.
But you're thinking a 6-head's a little more complicated. You got 6 heads there. But I don't recall the machine sewing as well as they did, as they have at a show. Seriously, I don't. Because sometimes you get people come up there tinkering with stuff.
Yeah.
They stick their fingers around it or whatever. Well, it makes me nervous. Or you're stopping the machine, or somebody will take a cap off to show somebody something and put it back on and not get it back on there right, and it'll fall off and you break a thread. But I'm telling you, it was, other than getting it set up and getting the stuff there, it was probably one of the smoothest shows that I've done in a while, which is a testament to the machinery.
Yeah, once it actually got there.
Yeah, I don't know what we'd have done. I mean, we stayed late on Wednesday. We stayed till about 6:30 or 7 o'clock. We got to a point where we were coming. Here's the other thing, too. The show didn't start till Friday. But we had the Japanese coming in on Thursday. We had a technical meeting at 1 p.m. that Sam, Earl, and I had to go to. And that's a big deal, the technical meeting is. So we didn't have as much time as we initially thought, but it all worked out.
Yeah. Most of the time things do, you worry about.
Yeah, and I was stressed. I got to admit, I was stressed.
Oh, yeah. If I'd have been there, I'd have been.
I
I'd
was
probably
very
just left.
stressed. I was not in a good mood. And when the truck showed up, they'd never done this before. And there's a what's the word I'm trying to you have to go check in at the marshalling yard. You can't just pull up to the dock and say, here I am. You have to go to what's called a marshalling yard, and you have to sit there until they call you out to go to the dock. And these folks had no idea. They didn't speak a word of English, not one word. Couldn't even talk to them. So I had to lead them over to where the driver check-in was. They had to get a number, and they didn't know. They were like showing me. I'm like, really?
So needless to say,
and I can speak or understand a little bit of Spanish. They weren't Spanish. Yeah. So I wish they would have been, because we could have conversed. I mean, I can talk a little bit to them, and they can Southern Spanish. I don't know the Northern. But anyway, it was show was good. It was good seeing everybody out there. Got to go to the Greek restaurant twice. We went to Nate and Al's in Beverly Hills. Got a corned beef sandwich. I always love to go to that place.
Oh yeah,
I love going there. That's Tom Messina and I have been doing that for years. We usually go on Sunday night, after the show, after we take everything apart and pack everything up and it gets shipped off, we always go up to Nate and Al's in Beverly Hills. And I've gotten the same thing every single time I've been there. Corned beef on rye, potato salad, iced tea.
You get in a rut though. Like you need to expand your horizons.
No,
a
I
little
don't.
bit.
I know what I like. It's good. It's been there since like 1937 or 1939.
But
Love
you know you don't get it that often, so that's the time to get it.
No, I mean, I don't. You can't get corned beef or pastrami around here. I mean the authentic.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to think.
I'm thinking of a Jewish deli, like
Yeah.
what you have in Cleveland. You've been to
Yeah.
the Chicago deli up there where we go to in Cleveland, and that's the real thing. They actually cure it there, or put it in the brine or whatever they do to it. Don't you like that?
Oh yeah, I love it.
Oh,
I don't think there's anywhere around here.
you can get like boar's head or whomever. I mean, there probably is some little hole in the wall here somewhere. I've never found it.
I was thinking there used to be a Jewish deli in Greensboro. I don't know that it's there anymore.
And they got the matzo ball soup
Mm-hmm.
and the it's authentic stuff that you can't. I mean, you can get a copy of it. But it's not the real thing.
Yeah, getting a copy of a copy. Boar's Head's a copy of a copy of a copy.
Boar's head's good, pretty good stuff. But you real corned beef and real pastrami has the fat in it, and I know I don't normally like that. I always trim it off on the outer around a steak or whatever. But you want it I like a steak that's marbled that has some fat in it. But this stuff has to have fat in it, and that's what gives it all that flavor. I think. that's my opinion.
Deli talk. Yeah, I was like even Atlantic City, we always go to the same places and
We do. I mean, it's I don't know. It's just that's where we know to go. We know what time to go. We can get in there.
But we went to that pho restaurant just on a whim, and it was great.
What restaurant?
The pho.
I didn't go.
Yeah, you did.
I did?
Yeah. Me and you, Earl. Might have just been me and you and Earl.
What do you call it?
The very first day. Pho.
Is it po? What
Sure.
Is that what you're talking about? That's what I call it.
Pho.
The Asian restaurant.
Vietnamese.
We did go there. We walked up there.
That was good.
That's good.
But nobody ever been there before. It was a little hole in the wall place.
I think Earl found it.
He did.
We always go to the Cuban place.
Which has fallen off in my opinion.
You think so?
Mm-hmm. I don't think it was as good last time.
Did you get the Cuban sandwich and the trip around the Cuba or something like that? You could be right.
Yeah.
But a lot of restaurants up there have closed. There used to be a really good Italian restaurant on the boardwalk. It was a hole in the wall that nobody knew about. Red and white checkered tablecloths. Real small place. We went there for years. And, man, it's been so long since I've been there. I can't remember who I went with. I think it was with Greg Stopka when he was working for Omni-Lease. And we went there and walked up there, and it's like out of business, baby.
Mm.
And it was delicious. It's the kind of place where if you get like chicken parmigiana, it's like hangs out over the plate, which you can't eat all of it. Oh, it was so good. That place was, I can't remember the name of it.
That's part of the fun of trade shows is the restaurants.
Well, I mean, you work all day. You rarely, we don't eat lunch. I'll eat a bar or something, and maybe I try to drink some water and I drink coffee, but it's kind of I like take the guys to a nice place, and have them. It's kind of a reward for your hard work. I mean, everybody stays on the booth.
It's a treat.
We don't go and say, "Oh, I'm taking lunch." No, you don't,
No,
because
it's not
usually we're very busy, and we. I mean, that's just the way it works. So,
yeah. I look forward to it. It's fun hanging out with everybody too.
But anyway, you went on a little escapade.
Yeah, I made a trip down to Puerto Rico, one of the U.S. territories.
It
was great.
I've never been.
Yeah, so I had planned a vacation for the kids for their Christmas present because, I don't know, they're kind of getting older and, either video games or money is kind of what they get. And we decided to do a trip to Puerto Rico. And so it turned out we have a sales rep down there, Mario.
Mm-hmm. He's a distributor.
Yeah, distributor. And he needed some training on the quote work system, so I made a work/vacation trip out of it. And got to go all around Puerto Rico. And got to meet Arnaldo, which was honestly the highlight of my trip. Like, I had so much fun.
More than being with your family.
It was, well, they were with us.
Yeah. Oh.
We all hung out together.
Oh, you got out of that one, didn't you?
Out of what? My comment?
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Okay.
And they all enjoyed it too.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, we met them and I told him I was going down there in, I think either November or December. I said, I'd love to try to get up with you. And it worked out. And he called me when I got down there and we met in Old San Juan, I believe on Monday. I trained Mario Monday. Monday evening we met in Old San Juan. Got to hang out with him and his wife. And she was kind of the tour guide because Arnaldo does not like to do Old San Juan. So he was kind of like, this is new for me too. So,
he doesn't like to. Personal reason?
No, he just likes to, he kind of just stays in his little place. You know, be like, if I took you to Charlotte, I don't know where I'm going. You know, all the touristy things to do in Charlotte, I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah, she kind of took us around, made like a speed shopping trip for all the girls. And then we went and I bought them all dinner and it was great.
So here's the thing. Your family goes with my sister and her son and daughter.
Mm-hmm. So what's the thing?
I didn't get the invite.
You wouldn't go. You never want to go anywhere.
No, I know.
Would you like me to at least invite you? Just so you can say no?
No, because I don't want to hurt your feelings.
It doesn't hurt my feelings.
I couldn't have gone anyway.
No.
So.
Yeah. That's the reason I had asked you, like, hey, do you need me to go to Long Beach? Because if not, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I knew there was something. I think your wife asked me at the Halloween party.
Yeah, she did.
She said, do you really need Brandon to go? I'm like, no, not really. If Sam hadn't gone, probably would have needed you there.
I would have for sure gone, but
yeah.
We had this planned anyway. And
yeah.
I think I got Mario up to speed on everything.
Well, have you heard from him? Has he called?
Mm-mm.
Well,
so far so good, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But anyway, we have basically a web version of this quote system that he can access, which we only have a few licenses for, and all those licenses were occupied. So I had to use my hotspot on my phone to actually use the application version of it.
How did your phone work down there?
Fine. So he got kind of the bootleg version of how to use it, but I've made a video that I got to send to him of like it actually working. So
cool.
Yeah, it was good. It's good to see Mario too. I hadn't seen him since the sales meeting.
Yeah,
so.
I like Mario a lot. I mean,
got to meet his wife.
He was I keep talking about the McPherson people, but he was a McPherson person too. I forgot about that. He was our distributor down there when we were McPherson Meistergram.
Yeah, and he's got a really big space there for machines, and yeah, he seems like he's thinking of growing is what it looks like. I mean, he's bought up some real estate and stuff, and it was cool. That not a huge fan of San Juan. It's a whole lot of traffic. We stayed in the rainforest, which was pretty cool. I mean, you walk out. Our literal backyard was the El Yunque rainforest. But anything you go do out, like if you're not doing it there, is like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. So there's a whole lot of driving.
So there's a lot of people that live there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are the roads very good?
Yeah. But people drive insane.
Well, they do here too.
It's worse than New York.
Well, New York's not bad because you can't go anywhere. You're just sitting in traffic all the time.
Yeah. This is people just cutting you off. Nobody uses turn signals. And
well, I'm not going to say we're the worst place. I don't want to make anybody mad. But there's a place that just scares me to death when I go there and drive.
This was pretty rough, but yeah. I got the extra insurance on the rental car, and I was like,
yeah,
I don't bounce off of people.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you got to see Arnaldo, too. I'd love to meet him.
Yeah. And he brought, which I meant to bring today and I forgot. He sent a bunch of hats. So
Yeah.
I'll bring those in. Show 'em off.
He's such a good guy. First of all, he's a good person. He's got a lovely family. They're just beautiful. But he's a huge Barrett proponent. Always saying good things about us, and he does phenomenal work.
Yeah.
He truly does. I mean, his stuff is it's the best out there in my opinion. Yeah, as good as anybody's best. He takes a lot of pride. He's just the epitome of a Barrett customer.
And me and him made a plan for John Kuhn does not know this. Me and John are going down to Puerto Rico.
Are you?
And we're going to this is me and Arnaldo made this plan.
You'll never go.
Why?
Well, John he couldn't find Puerto Rico on a map.
He's already
John
been.
Kuhn couldn't. He's
Been.
good.
Yeah.
Who took him? Because he couldn't get there.
He went on a cruise and then
a boat took him.
Yeah.
But if you ask John Kuhn where Puerto Rico was,
he's been over there before too. That was a
that doesn't mean he
trip on
knows
boat.
where it is.
He knows where it is. He's
He
smart.
probably thinks it's in the Pacific Ocean.
Well, I couldn't tell you what ocean's in. Wasn't even sure where it was.
Well, all the oceans run together anyway.
Yeah, it's all
so it
just
doesn't really
one
matter. I just say they ought to just say it's the ocean, Pacific, Atlantic. I mean,
That's all
where
one
there's not
ocean.
land and there's ocean, there's not a big line there
No, that's what I was going to say.
that says. I will tell you though, I saw something on. My sister showed me this. There is kind of a line where the oceans meet. The water's kind
Yeah,
of
it's
different.
different shades. Yeah.
It's something like I don't know. That may have been photoshopped. Who knows?
Here we go. Fake news.
I don't know if it.
Yeah, but John, anyway, I know you'll listen to this, so plan it on your calendar.
And John,
Let me know.
if you know where Puerto Rico is, which I don't think you do, but prove me wrong.
He definitely knows. He's been there twice to my knowledge.
John, spell Puerto Rico. Speaking of John Kuhn,
Yeah, we're going to get into
we just
which
want
I'm gonna plug. I'll put it in the links for their Instagram.
Yeah.
And then his YouTube page too, because
Yeah.
he's got some good videos on there.
He does. John had an Instagram. What do you call that? Post.
That's
Right.
what I would call it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's this week.
It
Monday or
was this
something,
week.
Tuesday?
Yeah. It was really good. And it's something I hadn't thought about. I do tell people this at shows and what it was about machine formats.
Yeah.
So if you're a Barrett user, you may or may not be aware, hopefully you are, that we have our own format. And used to be, when I first started here, we had something called an FMC format, which was floppy disk. Before that, it was, what was it? When I started, we just got, some places we're still using paper tapes. Then we went to floppies. But the old FMC format was the Barrett format for a long time. The DST format, which is a Tajima format, has been around forever. And people just think, oh, if I have a commercial embroidery machine, I should use a DST format. I think the reason that DST became popular was because when email came about, I think the DST was the first DOS format that you could email.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure, and somebody can correct me on that, but I think that's how it worked. So we came out with what's called the FDR, or it's called a .UO1 file. Anyway, John brought up a really good point that if you're a Barrett user and you're not using the .UO1 format, you should be using it. The biggest reason, number one reason, and John explains this in his Instagram post, is the .UO1. And when I say .UO1, it's you name your file, and instead of giving it a .dst extension, you give it a .UO1 extension. That's all you got to remember. But if you save that Barrett in format, when you put it into your machine, it saves all the color codes.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go into Wilcom, CompuCom will do it too.
Yep.
If you go in there and you set your needles to whatever needles on your machine and set up your colors, you can actually teach the design from your software.
Yep.
Now, keep in mind, you have to have the
They have
right
to be the
colors
same,
on the
yeah.
same. The needles have to match up to the colors on your machine.
Because your machine has no way of knowing.
Yeah, your machine doesn't know blue. Your machine doesn't know blue, black, red, or green, but it does know 1 through 15. Because I don't know if you've noticed this, when you put in a DST design in a machine, in a Barrett machine, it looks monochrome.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got a really nice feature when you're teaching a design on the machine. When you go to whatever color code, whatever sequence you're putting in there, that section of the color, the design will flash to let you know what block you're coloring. So a lot of times when I put a DST in to the Baird machine and it looks all monochrome, I'll just go in there and give it a bunch of values, then go back to the beginning so I can see which block.
Yeah, because it's hard to, especially if you've got a whole lot of color changes, it gets very monotonous looking, and you're like, well, where's the change?
Right. And if you only have 2 or 3 colors, it doesn't make that much difference really. But, for trade shows where we've got big designs that will have 30 or 40 color changes, sometimes 50 color changes, you get lost really easily. And yes, I can go into Wilcom and do a printout and take it to the machine and do it that way. But a lot of times, especially on our cap design, I kind of know the color sequence the way it goes because they sew kind of the same way every time. And I can look at it on the machine as you go through the sequence, and it shows you which block you're coloring, so to speak. I can say, well, I want that to be this color, this color, this color. But that American flag design that we were sewing, it's got 15 colors, probably 60 color changes. Well, not that many. I think it's got like 42 color changes. There's no way I could do that from memory. There's no way. There's just no way I could. Because some of those blocks are so small that when you see them on the machine, some of those blocks only sew like 100 stitches because it's putting like a lot of little detail in there. Yeah. You can't tell what color without having to go through the teach method on the machine, and that takes time. So I'm probably overcomplicating this, but John brought that up, and I'm like, we should mention this on the podcast because he's right. You should be using the .UL1 format. I had another point. I can't remember what it was.
I don't know. I can't read your mind.
But when you talk to customers, don't you? People get stuck on DST, and we read DST fine. There's nothing wrong with DST.
And that's that's the most common file type that's out there because it's been around for a long time.
It's a prehistoric.
Yeah, it's old. Yeah.
Because the way that it tells the machine to either change colors or cut thread, it uses like jumps. Yeah. We actually have the machine code. Now, if you put a DST into a Tajima, it's like ours. Right. It reads those codes.
Because it's a Tajima file.
Right. But, we actually put all the stitch data in there. So when you use the UL1, that's how it knows what the needles are. Yeah. Needle 1, needle 5, needle 7, whatever. So it shows, I set the colors on the machine to coincide with the colors of the cone. Mm-hmm. And then when you see the machine the design sew on the machine, you can see the colors actually come out on the machine. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It does to you. It does to me. Because,
Yeah, and it's probably a daily conversation I have with people. And the UO1, a lot of people, especially if they're new to Baird and they've never heard of it, it's like you have to kind of get into a detailed conversation about it. And
a lot of people who have home machines are familiar with the DST.
Right.
Because, and again, that file format has been around so long that everybody in embroidery knows it. Right. I guarantee half the people don't know it's a Tajima format.
No, most people
they probably don't. So it's a DST. And if you go into the home sewing world, and they have what? PES, PJR, all these different file formats. Well, they don't transfer over to the commercial side. Right. So you have to, Wilcom for the longest time had a converter where you could take the home format and convert it over to a DST or a Baird format. And Happy has a format too that some people use. I can't remember what it's called, but I don't want to get into a whole lot about formats because there's condensed formats, expanded formats, and all that stuff, and I don't want to overcomplicate it. But we used to have this issue with Dakota designs. Dakota would have 2 formats. They would have what's called a CDR format, which is a condensed format, and Wilcom would read that. You have an EMB format, which is a Wilcom format. Embroidery machines don't read either one of those. They have to be converted into like a pure stitch format, like the DST or UL1. So people would say, well, I can't get a Dakota design loaded into my machine. Okay, all right, what format is it? Well, what are you talking about? I took it right off the thing. I said, well, does it go back on your computer and look, was it say CDR? And they're like, or CND, what was it? It's been so long since I've done it. CDR, I think. Like, oh, it's this. I'm like, yeah, the machine won't read it. Take it into your software, whatever you have, and save it to a DST or a .ul1. It'll read right into your machine. So,
Yeah.
oh, and there were also issues too. If you put the folders on your memory stick, you can't put a DST into a buried folder. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
We've had that issue. People say, well, because I know that the technicians always tell folks to make a folder on your and put your designs inside that folder, because when the machine looks for it, it looks for a folder. That's where your folders come up, and then when you click on that folder, all your designs come down. People say, well, I put the design in my folder. Okay, what format? What's DST? Okay, what's your folder? Well, folder's FDR. Okay,
They ain't gonna read it.
It's not gonna read it. And there's, again, I don't want to overcomplicate this, but there's workarounds for that too. I mean, but personally, I like the folders.
Yeah.
So
You're a folders guy.
I'm a folders guy. I always have been. I know people say that about me.
People have
that
said
Bob Stone, he's like
he's a folder guy.
He's no doubt.
Yeah, but it was a good post.
Very good post, John, who doesn't know where Puerto Rico is.
Yeah, he knows. All right, anything else you want to cover before we run out of camera?
Atlantic City's coming up.
Oh yeah.
Not
I'll put
really.
the soon enough. We've got a code. We've got a code for it. I'll put that in the description.
Put the code. Put the code in there. You get a free pass if you want to come. We urge you to come. We'll have narrow field 8.
Yep.
3 singles.
Is that what's decided?
I've made that decision.
Okay. I kind of made it.
In a roundabout way. You didn't make the decision. I made the decision. I took your advice.
I also came in here Monday on a warpath.
Why?
Was that Monday?
I don't know.
Might have been last week. Remember, I was like, we need to do this, this, and this. And Jamie was like, what are you doing?
Oh, yeah. I thought maybe she thought I died because you were like giving out orders. And I'm like,
yeah.
And Jamie emailed me. She said, are you in the office? I said, man. She says, well, that Brandon, he's like dishing out orders. I said, Brandon and I talked about this. I could not remember. I didn't know if your customer was taking the 8-head from Atlantic City.
Yeah.
I thought they were. Because I told her last week, I said, when I was in Long Beach, I said, if we don't take that 8, I may take a 4 because I don't want to take a 6 away because we sell tons of 6s. Unless we have it sold before we go. Anyway, this worked out.
Yeah. It did.
And I measured, again, the trailer to make sure because you and I got to talking about it. Even Earl's like, I told Earl what we were doing in Long Beach. I said, yeah. He said, what machine are we going to have in Long Beach? And I said, we're going to have an 8-head narrow. Oh, how you going to get it out of there? I said, I'm going to put it in my trailer. He said, well, will it fit? I'm like, dude, it's no bigger than a wide field 6, and we've hauled those around.
Yeah.
So I got to thinking, I'm like,
maybe we should measure.
But you and I discussed this.
Yeah, it's already been measured once.
It's 154 inches, and we've got plenty enough room to get it in there.
Yeah.
So I have a 16-foot trailer that Brandon and I drive the machines to Atlantic City, pay $275,000 in tolls, most of them in Delaware.
Yeah.
My goodness, going through Delaware is expensive.
And Delaware's so small.
It's so small. Why they need to, they got like...
They're like, if you're going to come through the state, you're going to pay for it.
We've only got 10 miles of interstate. But by golly, you're paying to get through.
You'll be told every mile. Wow. Yeah,
especially if you're pulling a dual axle trailer. They charge you by the axle. But I'm like, man, I remember before you got the Sun Pass, I would go up there and I'd have to go to the bank and get like $150 worth of cash to get up there and I'm not lying to you, get up there and back for all these tolls. Baltimore has the tunnel tolls. New Jersey has a toll every 2 miles. That's state law there.
State law.
If you're
speaking of toll, Puerto Rico has tolls. They have a ton. Every time you get on, you're paying a toll.
Tolls are the most unfair thing. We pay taxes to build roads. I get off
He's
myself.
getting on
I'm not
soapbox.
going to get on this.
Yeah, when I was at the rental car place, I was like,
Did you get the toll? Did you get the toll tag?
Absolutely.
Oh, you got to do that.
Rake you through the cold.
Absolutely.
If you do not. So I said, yeah, unlimited tolls, please, ma'am. Por favor.
But Brandon has a toll tag because he travels to Florida.
Yeah, that thing's handy.
Delaware is your territory too.
It is. Yeah, that thing's pretty handy, that toll tag. And it covers a whole lot of states.
Just about everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't had an issue with it.
Yeah, I'd looked at Puerto Rico and it doesn't. Cause I was like, I'll just take this. It doesn't work. But yeah, I paid him in advance.
You have an actual Sun Pass from Florida.
Yes.
Yeah. There's different versions. Every state has their own little name for it.
Yeah, but pretty much I know the whole East Coast it'll pretty much cover, and there's
Yeah.
other states, but those don't matter to me.
As far as I'm going to drive, it'll
Yeah,
and
that's the way
farther
I
than
look
that,
at it.
I'm flying.
Yeah, that's the way
So-
I look at it.
All right.
Okie doke, we'll wrap it up there. I'll put the code in the description for Atlantic City, so get
Good
yourself a pass.
Get yourself a pass. Come and see us.
Yep.
Introduce yourself. Come
I would say
Coming
the
by a
dates,
brand new Barudin machine.
but I don't remember the dates.
It's
21st through the 20th.
it's around. It's got a 2 in it.
Yeah.
One of those days.
It's either
with
the
a 2.
2nd, the 12th, or the 20th.
I think it's.
I thought it was like 21st.
I think it's 19th to the 21st.
something. Anyway, you can figure it out. You guys are all smart. and
It's
the internet
Thursday,
works.
Friday, and Saturday.
Yeah.
Which all shows, according to Patrick, all shows next year are going Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Okay.
I thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, because what's Long Beach?
It's always been Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Always. I think Fort Worth kind of goes both ways. Atlantic City's always been. No, it used to be Friday, Saturday, Sunday years ago. They went to this Thursday, Friday format, which I like better
Mm-hmm.
because that gives you Sunday as a travel day instead of having to travel on Monday
Yeah. Works for hauling equipment for sure.
for hauling equipment.
That's
Absolutely,
That's what we do. All
that's
right.
us.
We'll get out of here.
We will. Thank you guys for
Yeah,
listening.
thanks for listening.
Thanks
and,
for putting up with us.
Make sure you leave us a comment, subscribe, and pass the information along. Also, go check out John, the Southern Exposure Technical Services website, email, home address. I'll put all that in the description.
Put his cell phone number on there.
Cell phone, social security number.
Yeah.
No, I'll link.
Yeah.
I'll link all that stuff in the description. So, all right, we'll see you guys on the next one.
All right.
Adios.
Sayonara.